Good afternoon, friends. The problem is actually my predecessor, teacher, actually, Dr. Srinivas. I think he has taken more time. He had some problem with the this thing. And today we are going to talk about the primary angle closure glaucoma. And we have talked about last class, the ocular hypertension, also normotensive glaucoma. And we have shown you the various videos pertaining to the trabeculectomy, how we do trabeculectomy, and the various indications of trabeculectomy, and also the anesthesia we give, and the post-operative complications of trabeculectomy. All these things actually we have seen. So the primary glaucoma, since the new classification described by Association of International Glaucoma Society way back in 2006, the word glaucoma they have its usage only for people who are having, along with actually the increase in intraocular pressure, if they have an optic disc changes and also visual field changes. So the other conditions actually they are not having the word glaucoma. So the word glaucoma is restricted. So in a case of angle closure, primary angle closure, suppose if it is associated with the field changes and also the disc changes, okay. So the angle closure glaucoma, the word actually it is replaced by primary angle closure disease nowadays, okay. So the primary closure disease is characterized by a position of the cornea or iris against the trabecular meshwork, resulting in obstruction of the aqueous flow. Or otherwise, a definition is a spectrum of conditions in which the peripheral iris moves forward to block the openings of trabecular meshwork at the angle, causing rise of intraocular pressure, or a rise in intraocular pressure due to blockage to the aqueous outflow by closure of narrow angle of the anterior chamber, an occludable angle rather. Okay. So the epidemiology, if you take, it is actually salient features regarding the epidemiology as proposed by the International Society of Geographical and Epidemiological Ophthalmologists, ISGEO. The first and foremost is for every 10 occludable angles. So the occludable angle is actually whenever you see through a gonioscope, the trabecular meshwork will not be seen unless you manipulate it. So those are actually occludable angles. We have Van Harris classification, and also we have Schaeffer's classification. There also we see what is an occludable angle, what is a wide angle. So all these things we will come to say them actually shortly. So previously what we do is actually whenever there is an occludable angle, we used to think actually there are chances of angle closure very high in these people, and we used to do a peripheral iridectomy by laser. Okay, so but they have conducted a study and they found that for 10 occludable angles, every 10 occludable angles, only one patient actually goes in for a primary angle closure glaucoma. So that's the reason we feel that actually it is not necessary to do an iridectomy or iridotomy, laser iridotomy in every case of occludable angle. And at the same time, actually, these people actually they will have to be followed up. Otherwise, they may end in angle closure glaucoma later. Okay, so chronic primary angle closure glaucoma is 3 times more common than acute primary angle closure glaucoma. So there is a great ethnic variability also in these people. So Europeans and Africans, so the primary open angle glaucoma, actually it is 5 times more common than the primary angle closure glaucoma. And Hispanics also, they come under that. And one Chinese actually, the incidence of actually primary angle closure glaucoma is almost double when compared to primary open angle glaucoma. In Indians or Asians, we have actually nearly about 50% of the total number of glaucomas, actually primary angle closure glaucomas, they are actually angle closure glaucomas. So there is some problem with this thing. 1 minute. You shouldn't get out. Sit type. Okay, I think there's some problem in transmission. So ethnic rather preponderance in these people actually we have already seen. So the primary angle closure actually is more common in Asians and Eskimos, uncommon in Africans and also Caucasians and also the blacks. It is very, very uncommon. It forms actually, it accounts for nearly about 6% of glaucomas in Caucasians and 50% of primary angle closure glaucomas. As I have already mentioned, it is seen actually in case of Asians. And females actually, they are more commonly affected by acute PSEC when compared to the males in the ratio of 1:3. And asymptomatic or creeping chronic variety, females and males, they are equally affected. And usually it occurs in the 5th decade or even earlier. Okay. There are certain, if you take actually the etiopathogenesis of the primary angle closure, so there are certain predisposing factors. So the predisposing factors are, the first and foremost is anatomical factors and precipitating factors. There are two things. Anatomical factors, it is mostly seen actually in patients with hypermetropic eyes when compared to myopes or ametropes. And a shallow anterior chamber is a prerequisite, and small corneal diameter with short axial length, and eyes with anteriorly placed iris lens diaphragm, and a thick lens, anteriorly placed lens, a plateau iris configuration, plateau iris syndrome, plateau iris. All these things actually, they are very, very, they are the anatomical factors which actually cause, which are the anatomical predisposing factors. So sometimes a thick ciliary body also, it pushes forward the peripheral iris, giving rise to an appositional angle closure between the iris and also the trabecular. So there are certain pathomechanism. So the pathomechanism of increased IOP is also very, very important. And before that, actually, the precipitating factors are dim illumination, emotional stress, which increase actually the production of sympathomimetics, and use of mydriatics for any purpose actually it can give rise to a raised intraocular pressure. So the pathomechanism of increased intraocular pressure is first and foremost is it's a pupillary block mechanism. It is responsible for nearly about 70% of the PSEG cases. predisposed patients in case of predisposed patients. And physiological mydriasis is one which is actually besides the physiological mydriasis, besides actually the drugs we use for dilatation of the pupil for certain tests, say fundus examination or a retinoscopy, such as actually atropine or cyclopentolate, homeotropine, tropicamide, and phenylephrine, all these things. Besides that, there are certain drugs actually which can cause actually the rise in intraocular pressure in occludable angles, such as we have tranquilizers, bronchodilators, and antidepressants, anti-malarials, and antispasmodics. All these things actually they can give rise to they can precipitate actually a rise in intraocular pressure in occludable angles, along with the mydriatics we commonly use. Pharmacological meiosis by ecothiopate and also pilocarpine is also responsible for an attack of actually primary angle closure. Okay. The other thing is actually Valsalva manova. It also precipitates a primary angle closure in case of in the people who are predisposed with an occludable angle. It's a mechanism of rise of IOP in case of after mydriasis. So what happens is whenever the pupil is dilated in an occludable angle or in angle already existing angle closure, so these people they will have when the patient actually will have the mid dilatation, there will be the maximum apposition of the posterior surface of the iris with the anterior surface of the lens. So that causes actually impediment of the aqueous seepage from the posterior chamber into the anterior chamber. So what happens is there will be a relative pupillary block. So the relative pupillary block, there will be accumulation of iris, the accumulation of aqueous behind the iris, and the iris, flaccid iris, actually it pushes forward, pushes forward, and that gives rise to actually the positional angle closure between the iris and also the trabecular meshwork or angle. Okay, so that gives actually later on this positional closure if it is not actually corrected. So it may go on to actually synechial closure. Okay. Mechanism of IOP in meiosis, the drugs that constrict the pupil. So there will be relative pupillary blockade, and secondly, the ciliary muscle actually it is contracted, allowing zonules to relax, and this causes actually the anterior displacement of the lens forward, which gives rise to actually again an appositional closure of the angle at the periphery, and that gives rise to this thing. And phacomorphic mechanism in cases of actually the intraocular cataract. So this may cause actually pupillary block, and it can give rise to a raised intraocular pressure. And secondly, suppose if it is a speedophakia, a small lens, or a subluxated or dislocated lens which is blocking the pupil, the phacotopic this is the mechanism. So that also can give rise to a pupillary block and give rise to a raised intraocular pressure. So to know what exactly the cause of phacomorphism, which is causing a raised intraocular pressure, a high resolution ultrasound biomicroscopy and also anti-sigmoidosity, these two things they do help a lot actually in actual diagnosing the case. Okay, so the classification of primary angle closure according to ISGEO classification, the World Glaucoma experts under the auspices of an Association of International Glaucoma Society way back in 2006. Now they termed it as International Society of Geographical and Epidemiological Ophthalmological Society. They have proposed the following 21st century classification in 2006, depending upon the status of IOP. and depending upon actually the findings of gonioscopy, and also depending upon the rather appearance of actually disc, and also the various visual field defects actually. Okay, so this is actually divided into three categories. One is a primary angle closure suspect, and second one is primary angle closure, and third one is primary angle closure glaucoma. Okay, and you have a traditional classification also. The traditional classification is the first and foremost is it can be a latent glaucoma or latent stage, and secondly, subacute or intermittent primary angle closure, and acute primary angle closure, and chronic primary angle closure glaucoma, and absolute glaucoma. So the clinical profile and management of the primary angle closure suspect is analogous to the latent PSCC of the traditional classification, and the various features, actually characteristic diagnostic criteria of these primary angle closure suspect or latent glaucoma is actually suspicious clinical signs on routine examination of any patient actually who comes for some other complaint. Fellow eye of the patient who presented with actually primary angle closure. Suspicious clinical signs are, suspicious clinical signs are only is eclipse sign, and second one is a convex shaped iris lens diaphragm, and thirdly a close approximation of iris to the cornea in the periphery of the anterior chamber. So you have Van Herrick's classification. I will come to that. So whenever actually there is a pupillary block, as you see here actually pupillary block, and this is iris Bombay. So the flaccid iris actually gets pushes forward because of the accumulation of actually the aqueous in here in the posterior chamber, and there will be an iridocorneal touch, okay, which blocks actually the angle. So plateau iris configuration, here actually the iris ciliary process, they are inserted anteriorly, and the plateau iris configuration, actually if you do a peripheral iridectomy, it will do. In case of actually plateau iris syndrome, in such cases actually the central anterior axial anterior chamber depth will be normal, but there will be a flat iris. So here in these cases actually, even if you do actually a peripheral iridectomy, so the patient may not get relieved of actually rising intraocular pressure. We may have to do a trabeculectomy later. So the primary angle closure suspect, so the shallow AC associated with occludable angle, angle recess is less than 20 degrees, and dark room, in these cases actually, in latent cases primary angle closure suspect, we do certain provocative tests such as prone dark room test, and secondly mydriatic test. So in prone dark room test, what we do is actually we are dark room prone provocative test. What we do is we take actually the basal intraocular pressure either with Chiari indentation tonometer or with a Goldman applanation tonometer, and later on we ask the patient to lie down prone with the eyes closed, but he should not sleep, because the sleep actually it induces the meiosis, and that will cause again, sleep induces some mydriasis, and that actually sleep induces meiosis, that actually will alter actually the pathomechanism. Okay, so the patient should not sleep, and he should lie down prone in a dark room for nearly about an hour. Okay, so we take actually the intraocular pressure again after 1 hour and see whether there is more than 8 millimeters of mercury rise. That is suggestive that the dark room prone provocative test actually it is positive. Second one is a mydriatic test. Normally it is not done nowadays because it's not actually a physiological this thing. And here we use tropicamide 0.5%. sometimes a meiotic test can be done, and 2% pilocarpine can also be added. And we take intraocular pressure at the basal level, and later on we instill these two drugs, and we see that actually the pupil is mid-dilated, and then we take actually intraocular pressure again. If there is a difference of more than 8 millimeters, it is suggestive of actually a positive test for angle closure. This thing, okay. So the diagnostic criteria in case of primary angle closure suspect. So gonioscopy, when you do gonioscopy, the angle may be closed more than 270 degrees, and or more than 270 degrees of iridotrabecular contact, and there won't be any peripheral anti-synechiae, and the IOP will be normal, and the optic disc and also the visual fields will be normal. Okay. So second one is actually a subacute or intermittent primary angle closure, or PSC. PSC again, it's divided into three categories: primary, subacute, or intermittent primary angle closure. Primary angle is as primary angle closure, and primary angle closure glaucoma, which is the chronic variety. So shallow anterior chamber. So in case of primary angle closure, the various criteria for the diagnosis are the iridotrabecular contact must be more than 270 degrees, and there should be an increase in intraocular pressure, and or peripheral anterior synechiae positive. OD and optic disc and visual fields, they are normal. And in this category, actually, we have subacute primary angle closure. In case of subacute primary angle closure, so there will be, so these people, they get actually the intermittent attacks of the angle closure, such as they can complain of uniocular severe pain, redness, photophobia, lacrimation, and colored halos, seeing colored halos around the tubes and everything. And these attacks actually, they get aborted on their own when these people, they are exposed to the bright light, because that induces the meiosis, or sleep, either of these things. So reading in dim illumination or watching movie in a dark room, they may precipitate the attacks. Short rise of intraocular pressure for a very, very short period occurs, and the other symptoms actually I have mentioned. So on gonioscopy also, you will have actually iridotrabecular contact more than 270 degrees. So this is to differentiate actually the colored halos caused by angle closure glaucoma, and also the acute purulent conjunctivitis and intumescent cataracts. So these are the three cases actually where you see the patient sees actually the colored halos. So suppose in case of acute purulent conjunctivitis, suppose if you irrigate the conjunctival sac with saline, and naturally when the mucopus actually gets washed off, so the patient will not have any colored halos. In case to differentiate between an intumescent cataract and also an angle closure glaucoma, the colored halos caused by these two things, what we do is we do a Finscam test. So the Finscam test is nothing but actually you pass a stenopic slit in front of the patient's eye in patient's eye, and he looks at actually the bulb, so where he sees actually the colored halos. So in case of actually the colored halos caused by an acute congestive stage of angle closure glaucoma, the colored halos, they persist. Whereas in intumescent cataract, actually they get broken. Okay. So the acute primary angle closure is another thing. Here, this is actually a sight-threatening emergency, and it's a very, very serious disorder. and there will be sudden occlusion of entire angle with an acute rise of intraocular pressure to extremely high levels, say 40 to 60 millimeters of mercury or more than that. So the criteria to call it actually primary angle closure is first and foremost the ITC, iridotrabecular contact, is more than 270 degrees, and intraocular pressure will be raised very high, 40 to 70 millimeters of mercury, and peripheral anti-cyanic will be present, and optic disc and visual fields, they may be normal. Okay. Sorry. They may be normal, or there can be changes of actually the optic disc changes can be there in the form of hyperemic disc or a glaucomatous disc, and glaucoma fleck, and all these things they will occur. Okay, so the symptoms in case of acute primary angle closure. So the symptoms will be sudden, severe unilateral headache or eye ache will be there. The patient will have photophobia and lacrimation, and decreased vision in a already inflamed red eye will be there. And nausea and vomitings will also be present in these cases. And prostration will be seen in these people. And it's the history of, they see actually colored halos around the bulbs. And when you examine actually the patient, so the patient may have a conjunctival congestion, circumciliary congestion, corneal edema. Either it can be an epithelial corneal edema or a stromal corneal edema. It will be present, and the anterior chamber may be a little aqueous flare will be there, and cells can also be seen. And shallow anterior chamber is very, very shallow, and sometimes we see in actually an iris Bombay, and the pupil is mid-dilated and vertically oval. Okay, and it will not react to the light. And intraocular pressure will be more than 40 millimeters of mercury. And gonioscope, if you can do actually, because the corneal edema actually precludes the uses of gonioscope, and you will not be able to see the angle structures. In such cases, we can as well instill glycerin drops and see actually that the corneal edema is reduced, and then we can look at the angle. Otherwise, we can as well start the patient on treatment for acute primary angle closure, which we are going to discuss shortly. And then we can as well see the angle and assess the angle. Okay, so what reveals actually gonioscopically is in a closed angle. It's a closed angle with extensively anti-cyanic A. And when you look at the fundus, so the fundus, the disc will be hyperemic. There can be splinter hemorrhages over the disc, or sometimes it can be normal also. So this is acute angle closure glaucoma. There is a ciliary congestion. So this ciliary congestion actually you see here, and there is conjunctival congestion all over. And here actually the aqueous which is secreted, it goes, it cannot go to the anterior chamber. Okay, so the angle is closed. IOP is chronically raised with anti-cyanic A greater than 180 degrees. So it is chronic primary angle glaucoma. So how we manage actually a case of primary angle closure glaucoma, latent glaucoma, actually we have to observe these patients. We don't, when you examine these patients during the actually attack, you may see the signs. Otherwise, the eye remains actually white and quiet. And in case of primary angle closure, suspect also whenever the patient is having during the attack, you may see the signs. Otherwise, we don't see the signs, and the eye remains white and white. In case of latent glaucomas, actually, we need not do anything till we can suppose if the patient can come for a follow-up frequently, and we explain them actually the symptoms of angle closure, complete angle closure. and we advise them actually to come down immediately. And in case of intermittent angle closure, so we suppose if there is already a primary angle closure glaucoma in one eye, so in such cases actually we can do a peripheral laser iridotomy with the YAG laser in case the apportional angle closure is more than 270, less than 270 degrees. Okay. So in the case of acute angle closure glaucoma, so what we do is actually we try to, treatment is essentially surgical, and we try to reduce actually the intraocular pressure as early as possible because this is a life-threatening emergency. So what we do is these people actually, we give them beta blockers, timolol maleate or betaxolol 0.5% twice daily, and adrenergic agonists, brimonidine can be given, and latanoprost can also be given 0.05% twice daily, so we can given. And if the intraocular pressure is very, very high, say more than 40 millimeters or so, in such conditions, we give parenteral medication to reduce actually the intraocular pressure. We give intravenous mannitol, hypertonic, we give intravenous 20% solution. We give 1 gram per kilogram body weight. We give intravenously very fast. And the second choice is actually we have glycerol, 50% solution in lemon water. We give it actually, and if it is not contraindicated, such as the people in diabetics, and if it is tolerated, we can as well give that also. And the other parenteral medications which we give are, one is intravenous estrozolamide, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, we can give. And secondly, we can as well give actually the tablets, 250 milligrams, thrice or 4 times per day. Estrozolamide can be given actually to reduce the intraocular pressure. Pilocarpine, it will not act when the intraocular pressure is very high because of the sphincteric ischemia. So the pilocarpine can be given 1 hour after the institution of the other modalities of management or treatment, and then it can be continued. But nowadays, actually, most of the glaucoma specialists, they are not preferring to give actually the pilocarpine because this itself may actually precipitate an attack of actual primary angle closure. So that's the reason they are not giving it. But once actually the intraocular pressure comes down to near normal, in such conditions, we try to assess the angle. And suppose if the angle is close less than, say, 270 degrees, we can do a peripheral iridotomy. Or if it is more than 280 degrees, 270 degrees, then we go in for actually a visualization operation or a drainage operation, that's such as a trabeculectomy. Okay. And in the fellow eye of the individual who had actually primary angle closure attack, acute primary angle closure attack, in such conditions, what we do is actually we do a laser iridotomy as a prophylactic measure, because these people, they may go in for actually primary angle closure, acute primary angle closure in about 50% of the cases within about 5 years. That's the reason. So as to prevent the attack occurring, we can as well do a peripheral iridotomy in these cases. Okay, and the next actually we have a chronic primary angle closure glaucoma. So chronic primary angle closure glaucoma, the various chronic angle closure glaucoma or PACG, primary angle closure glaucoma. These two things are analogs. Okay, so the clinical features will be a raised intraocular pressure will be there, and quiet eyeball. The patient will have a white and quiet eye, and secondly, a glaucoma glaucomatous cupping will be there, and visual fields actually similar to the POAC will be present. And gonioscopy, when you see, actually it will be the goniosynechiae will be present in more than 270 degrees. Okay, so so this is actually another a picture showing actually indentation or manipulative gonioscopy in primary angular closure glaucoma. It may reveal peripheral anterior reveals actually peripheral anterior synechiae. Okay. So in case of angle closure glaucoma, we actually try to do an indentation gonioscopy with 4 mirror I don't know, something wrong with this transmission. Suddenly it goes back. So we try to actually cause an indentation, do an indentation gonioscopy to break the attack in case of angle closure glaucoma. So this is actually this is prior to the indentation. You see actually the angle is completely closed, and this is after indentation. You see actually the goniosynechiae or iridotrabecular this thing of the peripheral iris, the trabecular meshwork. So the synechiae. Okay. So next, the etiology of primary angle closure glaucoma or chronic primary angle closure, it can be because of repeated subacute attacks of angle closure glaucoma leading to synechiae formation, peripheral synechiae formation, and acute PACC which persists for more than a few hours to leading to irreversible synechial formation or permanent damage to the trabecular meshwork. And sometimes the patient may be asymptomatic all through, and there can be a creeping angle closure. Slowly the angle gets closed, causing an iridotrabecular synechiae. Okay. So these people, they present with, whenever we examine them, there will be a raised intraocular pressure, and when you examine the this thing angle with the gonioscopy, there will be a peripheral anterior synechiae almost more than 270 degrees, almost all through. And finally, when visual fields will be, the changes will be similar to the primary open angle glaucoma. And when you examine actually the fundus, the patient may have the glaucomatous cupping. So all these things will be there. And the management is to reduce intraocular pressure by medical means and later on do a trabeculectomy in these cases with the primary angle closure glaucoma. And finally, you have an absolute primary angle closure glaucoma, absolute glaucoma. So the end stage glaucoma with a painful blind eye. And the patient will not have any light perception. Okay. What do you see? What you see in these cases is a perilimbal reddish blue zone, ciliary flush, and caput medusae. There's prominence of actually the vessels will be of anterior ciliary vessels, dilated anterior ciliary vessels will be seen, and caput medusae, few prominent and enlarged vessels will be seen around the cornea, and cornea it will be hazy, and you'll see actually various bullae about the cornea causing giving an appearance of bullous keratopathy, and filaments will be seen actually in the cornea. Filamentary keratopathy can also occur. AC will be very, very shallow, and iris you see atrophic changes, and pupil fixed, dilated, and body optic disc is atrophic. Okay, IOP is very high and eyeball is stony hard. So these cases actually, how we manage these cases is we try to reduce the intraocular pressure by means of actually medical means, and sometimes try to do actually a trabeculectomy. Suppose if the the pain actually reduces the blind eye. If it's a painful blind eye, our idea is, motive is to reduce the pain, relieve the patient of the pain. So if it can be done, that's good enough. Otherwise, we try to reduce intraocular pressure by actually cyclocryotherapy. So we take actually a retinal probe, pass the cryo, and make actually give the spots nearly for about 180 degrees, and the temperature at the tip of the retinal cryo probe will be minus 80 degrees, and this destroys actually the ciliary body, giving rise to reduction in the aqueous production, and the intraocular pressure may come down. And secondly, the photocoagulation, we have cyclophotocoagulation, either transpupillary cyclophotocoagulation or transscleral cyclophotocoagulation. It can be done actually to reduce the intraocular pressure. Sometimes when it is not coming down, then we can as well try actually a intraretrobulbar alcohol injection to reduce the pain. What we do is actually initially we give about an ml of 0.2% xylocaine retrobulbar, and then we remove actually the syringe, keep the needle in place, and later on 80% or absolute alcohol. Again, when about an ml to 2 ml, we inject actually into this thing, and then we remove actually the needle. So this actually destroys actually this thing, ciliary muscle, ciliary body, and everything. And the temperature the intraocular pressure may come down, and the patient may get relief from actually the pain he is having in case of absolute glaucoma. Okay, so there are certain complications which can occur because of the absolute glaucoma. First and foremost is a corneal ulceration can occur because of the bullous keratopathy or filamentary keratopathy or whatever it is. And secondly, a staphyloma, because the rise in intraocular pressure, the sclera also gets enlarged, stretched, becomes thin. And a ciliary staphyloma or equatorial staphyloma can occur in these cases. And when there is ciliary shutdown, the eyeball can become atrophic, and atrophic bulbi actually occurs. These are the various complications of this thing. And this is in brief actually about the primary angle closure glaucoma or angle closure. And normally we ask you about primary angle closure glaucoma, angle closure, and open angle glaucoma. These are the two things normally we do ask you in the theory. Secondary glaucomas, actually we'll have to, I think we'll take it on Thursday. It's only for completion's sake. There are one or two entities which can be given as a short notes. And you know pretty well that on Wednesday morning, 9:45 to it's about 40 minutes, you will have the examination, and it will be multiple choice questions. 40 multiple choice questions will be given. It will be in Google Drive and Google Form. And the moment actually after the 40 minutes over, you will not have access to the questions. So you will have to be fast and complete it. And that's it. If you have any doubts, you can as well ask me, or if you have any questions, you can as well ask. Otherwise, we call it a day. I think you people are hungry. I think it's 1 o'clock. Okay, we'll meet again on